What a dooski, guys, it's S3E14 here with the Hybrid Network for my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Episode 14, Watchdogs review. The beginning of this episode to the end, guys, I really digged it. This episode is very Mack-centric as we're following him while he's on this vacation visiting his brother Ruben at his old house as well, while these terrorists called the Watchdogs make some moves and the S.H.I.E.L.D. team obviously has to go and stop them. Along with this, we see some side plots involving Coulson and Lincoln and Simmons and May. Like I said, this episode is very Mack-centric and I actually enjoyed it. He carried the episode fairly well. We get to spend more quality time with the character in this episode. We see him in a more vulnerable place in his actual, household. We find out more backstory as to, why they still have it. We figure out more about his brother Ruben, and I thought he did really well in this episode as well. What I found that worked well in this episode was the more tender moments, especially with Mack and his brother. I thought that provided for some really great dialogue between the two. Some of my favorites were actually, in the beginning of the episode when Mack was talking to his brother about, some coworkers leaving and all this and that. And he wasn't going into very specific things and being vague, obviously, because his brother didn't know the field of work he was in. But we all got what he was talking about, and those are great. As well, the parts in the episode where him and his brother were actually fighting. I thought these were interesting, and the conflicts worked well within the story and what happened later on. Aside from Mack and his brother, we also see Daisy and Mack, having some sort of beef in the episode. It was really cool and almost tense to see Mack and Daisy have these two very different ways about going about the mission. Mack was very apprehensive about going right away, and Daisy was like, no, we have to go now. And there's that one dialogue where I believe where Mack says, it's not how they act, it's how they respond. And I thought that was really, really cool. To make that even better, Daisy replied with, "You're with me, like, forget what he's saying, we're gonna go and do our own thing." I thought that was so interesting on Daisy's half to see her, just kind of ignoring what Max said and just doing her own thing. Seeing that divide was really intense, and maybe it's hinting at Civil War, like a kind of friction. Who knows? And we finally got it, guys. We got the axe shotgun. It actually happened this episode. We finally got it after all the illusions and saying this running inside joke in the episode. We finally got the axe shotgun. It was so funny how they finally managed to put it in the episode. We saw him grabbing it and like duct taping it to the shotgun last minute with his brother, and it was fairly effective. Watching it, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. But then part of me is like, it's just duct tape, wouldn't it just fall off? But anyway, it was really cool regardless. I thought the Coulson and Lincoln subplot was pretty interesting. We're finally seeing Lincoln coming into his own within S.H.I.E.L.D., but then Coulson was just calling him out. Like, he was really just like telling him like, dude, you're not here for us as of now, you're here for Daisy, and it's very obvious. And it's true. And then Coulson just started sunning Lincoln like, listen to me, don't interrupt me, and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh my gosh, he's really putting him in his place. Obviously, we figure out what happens at the end with them, and they're starting to develop this bond with each other, and they're starting to trust one another. And it was really cool to see, and obviously, that first bit of dialogue that was a little intense. It was rewarding seeing, that first intense kind of scene between the two, and then them, being cool with each other after, he shoots a hologram and he kind of passes the test with the whole Blake hologram scenario. Like I mentioned earlier with the tension between Mack and Daisy, we saw Daisy use her powers in an interesting way this episode. She kind of went, not rogue, but she kind of went and did her own thing. It was almost in a bad way. She kind of went on her own and was trying to get answers and damage this dude's car, both his windows and the back window, just to get this information on the Watchdogs. Guys, what do you think? Do you think she'll act more reckless and continue to do these kind of, out of character behaviors? What do you guys think? Other than that, guys, I can't really think of much things. It was a pretty solid episode in all honesty. If I had to start nitpicking things here and there, it would probably be the May and Simmons stuff. For me, it kind of felt a little weird in the story. Kind of just felt like we're going on this, this simple story, and then goes to them for a second and then back to the regular story. I get it, they want to develop this whole subplot with Simmons and her wanting to be with the team. I thought those are actually some really cool dialogue in the scenes where she says stuff like, I let a murderer loose just to save my own skin, and stuff like, I'm the only person on the team who can't kill someone with my bare hands. I thought those are really cool, and I'm excited to see where that goes later on, but it just felt a little shoehorned to this episode to me personally. That being said, we're probably gonna see Lash coming soon, so interesting to see when that happens. Also, the last fight scene with Ruben and Mack towards the end of that part, it just felt a little bit edited weirdly and like chopped up. To me, it went fairly fast. That's just like a really minor grade. Apart from this, guys, I thought it was a solid episode, pulling back from the bigger things, just reminding us, of the humanity in these characters in S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as providing us with some meaningful dialogue and some impactful scenes. Also, we got quite a few name drops in this episode. We got the Avengers referenced like 1 or 2 times. We also got a direct reference with Age of Ultron and the Avengers making Ultron by Blake. He obviously had a cameo in this episode, and interesting to see where we're gonna see him in the next coming episodes, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and give this episode an 8 out of 10. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget, leave a like and subscribe to the Hybrid Network already if you haven't. Also, my channel's in the links below if you want to subscribe to there, guys. Also, don't forget to leave a comment on what you thought about this episode and the whole ending with, Blake in a wheelchair and seeing this nuke. What do you guys think about that? Anyway, guys, I'll see you next time. Peace.